One of the essential principles that Tai Chi students must understand in order to get the maximum benefit from the art and indeed to reach the higher levels is the understanding of what it means to use the mind and not force. Using the mind and not force is one of the classical internal principles that's drilled into students over and over again. And yet very few students actually take it to heart and understand what it really means. It is much easier to simply power through a movement without paying attention to how relaxed you are than it is to do all of the things that are necessary to refine the alignment and to connect the mind and the body and to understand the relationship between thought, emotion, and posture. What I'm going to do today is to show you two exercises that we've been using for a few decades in our classes in order to help you to understand, first of all, what it feels like to use the mind and not force, and then to teach you how to do it. Now, those are two very different exercises. Having the experience of what it feels like is not necessarily the same as doing it, but the first exercise you may find a little enlightening. The first step is to stand near a wall with your feet about just about a foot or two away from the wall. And the way to measure is to raise your hands with your elbows at your side and raise your hands in front of you like this. Keep your elbows tight into your side. Don't bring them out to here. Keep them in here. And then what I want you to do is to extend your index finger and your middle finger together like so. And these are the two fingers that are first going to come in contact with the wall. So you stand like so, this far away from the wall. Come forward towards the wall until your fingers just touch. Then touch the back of the index finger and the middle finger to the wall and slide your hands down the wall. Do not move your feet forward. Slide your hands down the wall and you will feel your weight coming forward. And as you extend your arms farther and farther down the wall, you will find your arms are supporting your weight. In order to make sure that your hands are supporting your weight, make sure that your hips are above or in front of your feet. Do not stick your bum out. Keep your hips over your feet. If necessary, shuffle your feet back a little bit, but not too far. Because what we're going to do is slide the hands even farther down, keep your shoulders down as far as you can, and almost touch your head to the wall. It's important when you do this exercise that the shoulders are down. Do not lift them up like this. Keep your shoulders down. Force them down if you have to. Push the hands down. So, your shoulders sinking down, the hands reaching down the wall, and continuing to reach down the wall until your head almost touches the wall. Keep your hips a little bit in front of your feet, and now push against the wall with your hands, and push against the floor with your feet. So you are using as much of your shoulders and arms to push the hand right through the wall. So push, lean into it, almost with your head on the wall, and push for the next 30 seconds. Push really hard. And for the next 25 seconds, push even harder. And for the next 20 seconds, push as hard as you can. And for the next 15 seconds, push harder than you can. And for the next 10 seconds, push as hard as I can. And then for the next 5 seconds, push the wall right over. Separate the wall from the floor. And you should be thoroughly exhausted. Then turn and let your hands float up. There. Now they may seem so light that they just float up by themselves. You may feel as though you're going to float away. Then bring the hands down and then let them float up again. So that is what it feels like to use the mind and not force. Now that you know what it feels like, the question is, how can you make that happen in the form? You can't push against the wall every time you want to practice the form and then do it every time you lose that feeling. But what you want to do is to practice getting the result that exercise got you. And the way to do it is to take it slowly and pay very close attention to the movements of the arm and to every other part of the body, because that kind of effortlessness should apply to every movement that you make. And so much of what we will teach you in these basics are exercises designed specifically to help you to eliminate unnecessary force, to use the mind and not force. So in order to get that feeling back without having to push against the wall every time, we'll take a simple movement, something very fundamental and very common in the form, and that's simply raising the hand. When you raise the hand in Tai Chi forms, you usually raise it to about eye level or the top of the head level, occasionally a little higher, but usually no higher than the top of the head. Here we're just going to raise the hand to eye level. When you raise the hand, often you end up recruiting muscles that you don't need, and they may help support the movement for a little while, but then when you get to the end of the movement, those muscles end up fighting against each other and creating shoulder tension. So you end up raising the hand, but you use muscles that are not necessary, end up recruiting too many and become too tense. So what we want to do is to practice sinking the shoulder down, dropping the elbow down, dropping the wrist, and then letting the fingers float up. So rather than lifting with the shoulder or the elbow or the wrist, the shoulder goes down, the elbow goes down, the wrist goes down, and that causes the fingers to float up, sort of like a hydraulic pump. Okay, the pressure goes down on one side and it goes up on the other. So the energy sinks here and causes everything else to simply float up. So take your time and go micrometer by micrometer. So you allow the shoulder to sink and the elbow to drop. And as the hand rises, do not try to make the hand go in a straight line. The hand may come forward a little, it may go back a little, it may wiggle, but until you find that perfect alignment, you want to make sure that you are not trying to make it go in too much of a prescribed direction. So the shoulder sinks, the elbow drops, let the hand float up. Let the hand float up as long as you are not using any effort. As soon as you start to feel some tension anywhere in your shoulder or your arm, then stop, relax, and then go back to the beginning. And then allow the hand to float up, shoulder sinking, elbow dropping. You allow it to float up and try to get to that spot without feeling that tension. And then you can let it continue. Do not try to make the hand go. You simply think about the hand levitating. You allow it to float up. It continues to float. And as soon as you feel tension, then stop and consider the fact that you may be going in the wrong direction, that you may be going too far to the back or too far to the front, or that the elbow is not sinking or the shoulder is not dropping. And then continue to allow the hand to float up, to rise, to just drift up by itself. And you may spend a half an hour or an hour one day just practicing lifting your hand. And you might not get all the way up there. You may only get to here. That's fine. And don't try to keep the hand palm down. Don't try to make it turn palm up. Just see which is the easiest way for the hand to go. And as it rises, you may find that you'll have to remove your shoulder or your neck or your back or your chest or change the shape of your waist. It may affect your breathing. It may affect the way that the weight settles in your legs. All of this, your whole body, will have to realign and coordinate in order to find the most relaxed way of raising the hand. There. So in learning how to use the mind and not force, it requires you to slow down quite a great deal, but it also helps you to integrate all of the rest of the parts of the body so that you are using everything together. And when one part moves, everything moves. You cannot move one part of the body independently of the rest of the body and think that it's going to be the most efficient movement possible. So you must completely let go of any preconceptions about how the hand is going to get there, or any preconceptions about what muscles are going to be involved. You simply look for that most relaxed feeling and assume that you haven't got it. Always assume you can be more relaxed. Always assume that you can use more parts of your body in order to relax.